How's it going, everybody? Mark Weisbarth back with another episode of CoasTalk, and today I'm sitting down with David Oliphant of Coast Pride. How's it going, David?
I'm well. How are you?
Really good. I really appreciate you taking the time, man. You have a lovely home here.
Thank you.
We're recording live from El Granada, California, in a beautiful home, and it's a good environment, man. I've done it at bars, you know.
Loud, probably.
Yeah, a lot of people,
Yeah.
but anything that's conducive to a good conversation, that's what I'm looking for.
Good.
So, yeah.
Right on. Well, I'm
But
glad this is it.
I really appreciate you taking the time. I know you're super busy, so let's just get in and get out.
All right.
I'm just kidding.
All right, you gotta go.
No, but you're one of the people I wanted to talk to. I mean, you strike me as the kind of guy that never stops. And correct me if I'm wrong. Are you just like a million things all the time?
I guess. It's funny you'd say that because someone else said that the other day. Somebody said, you don't let any moss grow. I was like, why would you? I'm not in the business of growing moss. No. So I've always been that person. And I think if you looked at my life on paper, I should be like 150 years old, right? But I'm always that person that's wanted to really try lots of things and be really good at lots of things, but also help as many people as I could along the way and kind of enhance the environment that we all live in, right? So for me right now, that's the community here at the coast. But it's why I teach yoga. I teach it because I love it, but I also see there's a lot of benefit for people who show up. It's the reason I love real estate. I think it's a super stressful environment for people when you're buying or selling, and I'm kind of a nurture and a calm presence, so it helps to take care of people in that time of their lives. And it's certainly why when I was asked to be on the board of Coast Pride that I didn't even think about it. I just said absolutely yes.
That's awesome. And that's what I want to get to. The main focal point I want to get to is talking about Coast Pride and what that's all about. I love that. I know Jeannie Vargas.
Yeah.
And when I reached out to her, she told me, you should talk to David. He's more articulate. Or,
She knows I love to talk about period, but also talk about things that I really believe in. So the one thing about Jeannie is, and I'm glad that you know her, but she is the glue. She is the one who started this organization. She is the glue that when the rest of us get busy in our lives and start to grow quiet, she lassos us all and brings us all back and gets us all back on task. So a lot of and there's 6 of us on the board, but and everyone kind of does their thing, but a lot of the milestones that we meet are because of Jeannie. So she's been fantastic about that. But she had a personal experience in her life where she came to recognize that for the LGBTQ community, there weren't any resources on this side of the hill. Right? There were lots of groups that were getting funding by San Mateo County, which we're in, but the resources were never making their way over the hill. So she decided that she wasn't going to take no for an answer. So she created a board. We created the organization called Coast Pride, and if somebody wants more information on it, they can go to coastpride.org, and started planning events and raising funds and building teams of people. And so far, it's been hugely successful, but our goal has been so that when another parent or grandparent or an advocate recognizes that someone in their life needs resources or support, they don't have to figure out how to get to Redwood City, right? And for some of these kids that are just out of school, they can't get to Redwood City. They either don't have the means, they don't have a car, there's no one that can drive them. Maybe they feel humiliated about it, right? And they don't want to even be seen with their peers or trying to tell people why they need to get resources over the hill. So we decided the best thing was to kind of do the right thing and bring the resources here. So in August, we're starting, and it's expensive, right? We've got to raise like 10 grand every 6 months to keep this going.
Wow.
So people will have the opportunity, and certainly I hope your listeners will take advantage of that, but to kind of give money and help keep this alive and well. But in August, we're starting twice monthly. I think it's the first and third Wednesday. Let me just check my notes. Yeah, first and third Wednesday, adolescent LGBT support drop-ins. Right, so it's just going to be from 4 to 6. There'll be some light snacks served, but it's just going to be not a structured therapy session, but just an opportunity for kids to drop in and find support and be with each other.
And where are they dropping into?
So right now, the owner of Enzo has been extremely gracious to lend us that space. So right now, that's the space that we'll be meeting in.
Is the goal to have like a center for Coast Pride or something, or is it?
It's a good question, but as we kind of, there's a starting point, right? And we know kind of what the need is now. So as you start to advance on that immediate need, the horizon starts to grow, right? And the picture starts to become bigger and more things start to become clear. And certainly what we are trying hard not to do is to assume that we know what the needs are.
Yeah.
Because we don't. We don't know what the needs are. So we're trying to just pay close attention to what's happening and kind of the path that it's taking us all on. And if that turns into a center, then so be it. Right. But for sure, we know that we need a safe space, especially when kids aren't feeling safe at home, right? Or telling their friends or telling their family or even kind of understanding what that means for themselves. They need a space where they could talk to people that support them and kind of understand them and accept them regardless, right? So we recognize parents need the same thing. So in August, we're starting a once monthly parent drop-in group.
That's good. I was gonna ask that because there could be. I feel like kids or younger people may not be as inclined to kind of jump in and kind of, I don't know. I think it's good to have something for the parents and kind of help them and how to talk to their kids about it, or kind of just set an example to their kids, like, this is something cool. I've checked this out.
Yeah.
And I wonder, I mean, have you guys done any kind of I saw you did some kind of survey or something, but, do you know how many LGBT kids are on the coast? Like, really? Because, I'm so out of touch now. I'm like old man over here, I don't know anymore. But I remember when I was in high school here, I graduated in 96.
Yeah.
Man, there was maybe a couple kids that you kind of knew were gay or something, but they weren't exactly out. So but later on they came out and all that. But I can only assume that since it's 2020 damn near, and I feel I'd like to say that we're way more tolerant, at least in this community right now, and in the world in general. I'd like to assume that. I'm not, I think there should be a lot more that are out and kind of just living freely. Do you guys know anything about that? Like the numbers? Are there a good amount?
Well, so we haven't done a head count at the coast, right?
Right.
A rainbow head count.
Consensus.
But the statistics say that it's a tenth of the population, like 1 in 10 people, right? Might either be bisexual or gay or transgender, or kind of don't have it figured out yet, right? Like trying to decide what their identity is and if they even need to have one at all. Some people don't want to be put in a box, right? They kind of love the person that they love and don't feel like it has anything to do with sex or their sexuality. But the numbers tell us it's a tenth of the population. The reason, though, a group like this is so important is because the numbers are skewed depending on how you look at them. So if you look at them from the number of youth that might identify as gay or trans that actually have committed suicide, the number jumps up to like 80%. Sure. Versus a straight teen that might be struggling with something else going on in their family or their life. So that's why support is so necessary, because those numbers are so skewed then, right? Yeah. But I mean, there's hundreds of kids here, if not thousands of kids that are gay or lesbian or bisexual or questioning or transgender or whatever that might be.
Yeah.
So that's why it's hugely important to us to offer that support and just a safe place.
Totally. I think it's really cool. When I first saw it, first thing I thought was, oh yeah, great idea.
Of course.
We need that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm just, and it seems to me from where I'm standing, it seems like you're getting a lot of support and it's starting to pick up momentum.
Yeah, we are. And I feel like there's a big shift happening right now anyway, right? Not hopefully in the world, but I feel it kind of in our community. There's a lot of people that want to take care of our community and kind of foster what it means. I came out when I was 19, and that was a long time ago. And thankfully I have parents that are phenomenal. They're such amazing parents, but they immediately became involved in PFLAG, which is, the Parents and Friends of Lesbian and Gays. It's a national organization, and it's there to help support advocates and parents. The challenges and why we want to have an adult drop-in group is because sometimes if this is new to parents, it's that thing about you don't know what you don't know,
right.
And now all of a sudden you don't know a lot. You don't know what's going on in your kids. You don't know the language they're using. You don't know how they might feel kind of disconnected from their friends or their family, especially if they come from really religious backgrounds, because that's kind of a hard line in the sand.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
And, but there's a huge religious faction here at the coast, right? Lots of them. And I support community, right? By all means. And I think sometimes that's the benefit of an organized religion, is because people find community.
Sure.
but not when it comes to kind of excluding our own, right? Our own kids and friends and family.
Yeah.
So kids struggle with that as well. And there's, we're a big Latino community as well. Typically they skew Catholic, and being gay within both of those elements is kind of a big no-no. So some of those kids are really struggling with it too.
Yeah, I have a good friend two of them actually grew up with, Mexican. They came out and their dads don't talk to them.
Yeah.
Like, to this day.
Yeah.
Rough.
It's phenomenal thinking to me. Like
Yeah, I couldn't imagine.
Interesting. No. But when you make that decision.
Yeah, I have a 2-year-old daughter, and I'm like, I don't care what you tell me.
Yeah.
Like, I will love you till the day I die, Yeah. So, yeah, I can't imagine. I've always looked at it like, saying that you have a problem with somebody loving the same gender, to me, is the same as saying, like, you should only marry a white person. It's like racist,
It is kind of racist, actually.
We're all humans, and that's how I've always looked at it.
Yeah, and I think, too, I've always thought that, why do you care? Why is that so... Why are you expending so much energy on caring about that?
True.
Like, it's a fascinating question, and I think people should ask themselves that.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me, too, when people always go, oh, God, well... Because I think in their brains, when people have a struggle with it, it's because they've immediately jumped into my bedroom, right? Right. In their brain.
Right.
Like, that's where they go.
Yeah.
And now they have this big struggle because of... And my question is, do you do that with every straight person you meet?
What if somebody likes when you lick their toes? You got a problem with that?
Hey, you said that, not me.
I mean,
I know, but it's just so interesting because I think, well, gosh, you're thinking that with me, but do you think that with your neighbor?
Right.
Do you think that with the person you work with?
You don't care what they do in their bed.
You don't even think about it. It's not even part of your reality. So why is that your first default in your brain when you're talking to me?
Well, I'd like to think, and I'm such like an optimist and kind of like the guy that drinks the Kool-Aid. You know me.
Yeah.
I'd like to think we're getting a lot better and we've come a long way, in that sense, racism, all that. I feel like, it's gotten a lot better, but I am not in this community. And to be completely honest, I don't hang out with tons of people that are LGBT or anything. I have family members, that are lesbian and gay, friends I grew up with and stuff. We've always been cool, and I see them in the community. I meet people. I mean, I know Jeannie and Kelly and them. They're all just good people. We're all good. We're all people just trying to live life to the fullest. And I just think that having something like this, I'm hoping, and I'm sure this is obviously one of the goals, but I'm hoping Coast Pride helps like kids and even adults maybe come out, first of all, and second of all, live a little more freely and just kind of more open, and not, maybe people are hiding it right now, and then they see this organization come out and there's like resources and events and like groups of people involved, and they're like, oh, cool, and it kind of gives them a sense of, it's almost like I joined the gang because they're my family type
right.
of thing,
Right. And I think there's a couple things that are absolutely going to make that possible. One, I think there's kind of a huge shift in our world right now. And I think there's different political agendas that kind of make people focus on what's important to them, and then kind of spending more energy there trying to make that the case, right? So I think lots of different groups are doing it, but that's going to benefit us here with Coast Pride. So I think there's that. I think there's also, there's so much in television and movies and those things that most people have access to now, entertainment, whether it's on a TV in a bar or on their laptop or whatever it is. And oddly enough, and I guess I can say this as a gay man, it's kind of trendy now to have gay friends, right? So that's kind of funny.
That's funny.
It's a little ironic. It's kind of funny. So, but I think and in the bigger picture, I think that helps.
That's not a bad trend, I guess.
It's not a bad trend. Like, I will embrace it. I take it. Right. And then I think there's a lot of us. I have a tattoo on my arm, and one of those words is the word witness. And to me, it's just important that you have to, if you're going to be involved in something like this, you have to show up authentically. Right. So Chris and I just moved into this house, right? We've been here for a couple of months, but we made a point of saying when we met all of our neighbors, and we hadn't met any of them, when we met all of our neighbors, if it was me, I'd say, yeah, my name is David and my husband's name is Christopher. I wasn't going to say my roommate. I wasn't going to say my friend. I wasn't going to say partner even. Yeah. Because it's not. We were legally married in the state of California, just like you, next door neighbor. Right. So it was important to us to set that tone right away.
I think that's really cool.
So we just started doing that. And I will tell you, unless people are really good at hiding it, 100% of the people have been phenomenal in our neighborhood.
Ask, yeah.
And every day moving in, we had One day we had a tray of sandwiches. One day we had some olive oil and fresh fruit. One day we had flowers in a card. Like every day, a neighbor brought something new and put it on our doorstep when we were moving in.
Well, I think that's awesome, and it doesn't surprise me, honestly. I would assume that our community is like that. So it's a nonprofit, right?
So we're in the middle of, it's a good question. Thanks for bringing that up. We're in the middle right now of getting our 501(c) status, which means we will be a nonprofit. It's a lengthy process, right?
I've been there. I actually started a nonprofit.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, like 6 years ago. It's called Project New Groove. And actually, that's how I met Jeannie's sister, Alicia. Mm-hmm. She was involved in that too. And our thing was we wanted to start programs on the coast for art and music and stuff, the arts, getting kids into arts.
I remember that actually.
And did great, and we got we started out as like working with an existing nonprofit while we were filing for our status. And so it allowed us to get tax deductible donations, and I think they get a cut or something, but I don't know. But the hard part was raising funds and keeping it going, and eventually we basically got to the point where we had to kind of stop because it was so hard. It was so hard. So I commend you guys for taking this on, but I do feel like it's a different, it's almost like more necessary than what we were doing. I hate to kind of downplay the arts and stuff, but this is almost like, I don't see this not working, honestly.
Well, I think they're both important. It's hard to compare one to the other. Yeah. That's where, though, one of the reasons this will work is because of Jeannie Vargas. That's where she just absolutely will not take no for an answer.
Right.
So when she sees a no, she says, all right, what's next? Great, that's a no on that path. Let's look at this path. So as we prepare to do our 501(c)(3), and one of our board members, Brendan, is an accountant, I believe a CPA as well. So he's kind of taking that whole piece on for us.
Oh, cool.
And has even paid for his attorney to work on filing all of that paperwork as part of his donation.
That's good.
But we are also working with SquarePeg right now. SquarePeg is a nonprofit. Yeah, so they are the organization that has agreed to take funds for Coast Pride through their nonprofit. They take a very small percentage off the top, just an admin fee, and then they funnel all that money back to us.
Okay.
So soon on the website, coastpride.org, as well as our Facebook page, people will be able to make a donation. Until we get our own license, it'll go to SquarePeg, and then it'll bounce right back to us.
There you go.
The same happened when we did the event at the library. We had an author that wrote a book called He's Always Been My Son. It's about a woman who had a young daughter that transitioned to be a man.
Yeah, John Barkin or something.
Yeah, she's a phenomenal speaker. We were able to take donations there through SquarePeg. And then on the 28th of June, Sacrilege downtown is kind enough to host a Pride fundraiser for Coast Pride.
Oh, that's on June 28th.
It's on June 28th.
That's my birthday.
Right on. You'll have to come by. I'll sing happy birthday to you. You come by, I'll sing happy birthday.
Okay.
But that's also a fundraiser, so we'll have a silent auction. They've named 2 beers for us for that night.
I saw that. Yeah. LG Beer TQ is there.
Right.
That's awesome.
Which is super cool. And the proceeds from that are going to go back to Coast Pride. So we'll have lots of opportunities. But again, SquarePeg is the one that will be able to take that money for us until we get it. But they're funneling it right back to Coast Pride, which is super cool.
And are you guys planning to do some because it's all about fundraising when you do these organizations. Yeah. And what we did with Project New Groove is we would have annual things. So you set up 3 events per year.
Yeah.
Are you guys planning on doing anything annually, or are you just kind of doing different pop-ups and just as they come up?
Yeah, and right now it probably looks like pop-ups because we just formed in April?
Yeah, it's still new. Yeah.
I mean, we're probably 8 weeks into this?
Yeah.
And we've already gotten some great traction, but it's still brand new. The next kind of big piece of that is Christopher, who's my husband, did Carnival of Wonders, the show last year. It was a fundraiser for Coastside Hope. We were able to give them $5,000. And this year it's a little bit different. That was a show that was here at the theater. We did 4 shows and kind of, had a start and end date. But this year Christopher decided to make a movie. So it's called Carnival of Wonders, the movie. We filmed it last week out at Long Branch. We did 4 days of filming between Long Branch and another offsite location. But we had about 100 people on site every day, including a film crew from LA and then Cirque du Soleil talent that flew in from Vegas.
Wow.
And then a bunch of local people as well. So it was a huge undertaking, but that again is going to be the proceeds will go to a nonprofit. So this year we've picked 3. Coast Pride is one of them.
Nice.
Coastside Hope was doing their own fundraising event in June. So they felt it was a conflict. So we had offered, but they said, not this year, maybe next. So we selected Coast Pride. We selected Square Peg. And if people aren't familiar with Square Peg, it's a group that works with autistic children and horses, and kind of how horses calm those kids down and kind of help them ground and focus. And then Edgewood, and Edgewood is really about making sure kind of no kid is left behind. So what does that kid need in their living environment, their schooling environment, that sort of thing. So those are the 3 nonprofit locals that we've selected this year. And all the money for Coast Pride, of course, will stay local as well.
And what are people paying for? Like, is it going to be a show like it was last year somewhere?
Yeah.
So it's a movie, though.
Yeah, it's a movie.
Is it a screening? Or?
Yep, it's a 20-minute movie that right now is being edited. And it opens with a young girl skateboarding in San Francisco. And she falls and hits her head. And she wakes up at Long Branch. And it's the 1800s. And it's all these people that for some reason have been stuck in the past because they gave up on their hopes and dreams.
Oh,
so,
I like it.
So what happened? Somebody had a family and had to give up their career. Somebody had a career and had to give up the art that they loved. Somebody had a life traumatic situation and life shifted and changed and they had to go to a new path. So whatever it was, we all had that thing that we're like, oh, I wish I would have fill in the blank. Right. So this young girl starts to meet these people and starts to help them understand that they don't have to stay stuck there. You can actually move on. You can pick a different path and try something new in your life. So that's kind of the basic outline of the movie. But we're going to do the screening at Long Branch, so right back where it was filmed, and we're going to have a huge Western hoedown.
Nice.
So we've hired a caterer.
Barbecue brisket and stuff.
We're doing lots of barbecued food. There'll be open bars. There'll be games for the kids. The movie will constantly be looping so people can see the movie. And then we're going to bring in some live talent again, some of the people from Cirque du Soleil, and do some live shows throughout the night. Awesome. So we're just now working on the ticket price because we've got to get a couple things finalized. But tickets will go on sale. The Half Moon Bay Review magazine is doing a big story on us. I think it comes out in July. So when that publishes, the ticket website will be live, but for people to get tickets to that, they can just go to carnivalofwondershmb.com and there'll be a purchase ticket button on that website.
Is it like a musical at all? Is it like singing, dancing, or is it?
It's yes, yes, and yes.
Oh, nice.
There's acting, there's singing, there's Leah Walters, who's a singer here.
I love Leah.
She's
one of the most talented singers I've ever met.
She has a scene where she sings. There's a chapel at Long Branch.
Yeah.
And it's just her singing in the chapel.
Oh my God. Bone chilling.
They filmed it twice. I literally had tears both times. It was incredible.
Yeah, no, one time, that's funny because she was involved in this J7 Studios, which I was a part of. And, her and Kanani. And they performed once. I filmed it. And I'm like filming it just like.
You can't believe it.
I'm like sobbing behind the camera. Like she's really good.
She's amazing. Huge conveyor of emotions.
Oh my God, she's so good. That's so cool that she's involved. I saw that on Instagram. I also saw Josie Rodriguez. She's a friend of mine. She did makeup over there too.
Yeah. So we had a makeup crew. I think of like 8 people for 4 days. A woman named Joy Bianchi, who's a very famous socialite in San Francisco. We had her brought out here, and she is in the movie for us. There's fire spinners from San Francisco there, and from LA. There's a strength group from Cirque du Soleil in Las Vegas that came in because there's a big bar brawl, right? I happen to be the bartender in the movie.
Nice.
Yeah, thanks.
I saw a picture of you. That looked awesome.
That was me being a bartender.
That was cool.
And there's a contortionist on the bar, and of course one of these strongmen is flirting with a contortionist, so there's a big fight, and they end up out in the street, and then they do their strongman act in the street.
Wow.
So there's a lot of really incredible pieces to this film. But, our goal, again, was creating something unique and kind of fun, kind of showed off our local environment and got to raise proceeds for the local charities.
That's super cool,
So it's a fun project. And so what next year will look like? No idea.
Yeah, where do you go from there?
Yeah. Well, that's Chris's brain, right? He gets to figure that out.
Yeah.
He leaves in September to work on a show in Shanghai for 4 months.
Wow.
So his brain's constantly kind of recycling highly artistic things that most of us don't see, couldn't even imagine, right? And that's how we ended up doing the film. And so next year, I'm not sure what will happen.
How'd you guys meet?
Chris and I met by a pool in Palm Springs, if you can believe that. It was 15 years ago, and we both lived in Vegas. And
wow.
we both ended up going to Palm Springs the same weekend with our own separate group of friends, and then happened to be staying at the same hotel.
Oh, fate.
Fate, it was. Because, we literally, it was a Friday night. One of my friends was like, let's go to Palm Springs. I'm like, okay. So we got in the car and
whim.
I'm just totally on a whim. And then we discovered that we lived 10 minutes apart in Vegas.
How did that strike up, though? How did the conversation strike up? You just see him and say, hey.
Well, you know what was funny is, so he was in Mystere at the time, right? So it's all the, beautiful, very fit Mystere people all laying by the pool. But there was one guy that was acting really silly and kind of crazy. And of course, I'm like, I don't want to meet the person posing on their Nike towel. Right. Like that. I see those people all the time. Right. I want to meet the crazy one that's doing all these silly, funny things. So it was blazing hot. It was like 120 degrees, literally. And there was just this little sliver of shade, and it was the shadow of a palm tree. And Christopher was trying to lay in this shadow, so he was like all contorted. And so I think I just swam up to the pool and said, like, "Are you okay? Did you? Are you hurt? Like, did something happen?" And we just struck up conversation from there, and that was 15 years ago.
That's awesome, man.
Isn't that wild?
That's awesome.
No.
And so, yeah, I'd like to kind of hear your story, man. You're kind of like one of those fascinating guys, like, I know you have tons of stories, and I'd love to learn more about you. But when you came to the coast, did you tell me about that experience? Did you come here? Why did you come here? And when you did come here, did you feel like you belonged, or did you feel like kind of a fish out of water? Just tell me kind of your experience in that. I'm just curious.
Yeah, so when Chris and I were living in Las Vegas, and we knew, because he was with Cirque du Soleil at the time, I was with a big trade show and exposition company. I used to be their VP of sales, so I ran this big sales group and whatever. But we kind of knew that we had a great life from a financial perspective, but it wasn't home for us, right? We had great friends and great jobs and a beautiful home, but it just didn't feel like where we wanted to kind of start the next chapter of our life. So we were fortunate. We, rented the house, and we decided, let's travel a little bit and just find our people. So we bought crazy, people think we're crazy. After 6 months of being together, we bought a 40-foot motorhome with a big king-size bed in the back and a full kitchen and washer and dryer. And we drove to San Diego, and then we took 6 months to cut across the country.
Wow.
So we just weaved in and out and up and down. And I always wanted to go to Las Cruces, New Mexico. Let's go to Las Cruces. And then Chris will be like, I always wanted to see the blah, blah, blah. Let's go there. So we just made our way to Florida, which is where Chris had family. And then and just saw some amazing, beautiful places. I met really amazing, beautiful people. And then on our way back, we're like, where should we go? We don't really want to go back to Vegas. And I have lived in Burlingame and San Mateo before. Oh, okay. In a past life. And Chris has family in Foster City and was raised there. So he said, my nephew got married in Half Moon Bay. Let's go there. So we found this great RV park called Pelican Point, which is right up by the Ritz. And we pulled in there, I think, with a week-long reservation, which turned into 2 weeks, which turned into a month. Because we were just like, well, why are we leaving like this? It's amazing. We love it. Yeah, we were digging it. And meeting great people and loving being at the coast and loving also being close to San Francisco and Chris's family in Foster City and mine's in Reno. So it was kind of this cool central location without being too close to anything unless we wanted to be, right? And then I think, after like 3 or 4 months in the motorhome, we're like, okay, we need more space. And we still have all of our stuff in Vegas. Like, we got to figure something out. And at the time, Chris was producing and choreographing shows for different cruise lines. So our work wasn't here. We were always flying and getting on ships. Wow. Literally. I'd fly one day and get on a ship in Vietnam, and he would get on a ship in, Europe somewhere. Like, see you in a couple of weeks. We're going to go do our work. And then when that was a 3-year contract, when that kind of started winding down, we're like, let's stay here and figure it out. We like it. Let's try to see what the next chapter is. So then in my mind, Chris started teaching dance class at FIT, which he still does, and Shelley Pack. And he still works the guy's name is Franco Dragone. He's one of the original creators of Cirque du Soleil. Oh. Christopher still works for him and does projects around the world. So it was kind of set up where Chris could live here and work remotely. I thought, well, what's that thing for me? Like, what's that one thing and that was being very selfish, right? I want to make a good living. I don't want to commute, right? Like, everyone just hopes for that.
Yeah. The dream job.
The dream job. But I want to also take care of people, and I want to put all I had 30 years of travel and business acumen, if you will, kind of as part of my repertoire. So I'm like, how do I put all that together? And I've always, always, always loved the idea of looking at homes. Right? I love it. I love the design piece. I love helping people figure out what their piece looks like. And I thought, maybe I should try this little thing called real estate. And that was probably like 8 years ago I started thinking about it. Probably 7 years ago I started studying and kind of working on getting my license. And then like 6 years, I think now, that I've actively been doing it. And I was always with Alon Pinnell. And then it just seemed like the right time. And again, it's part of the energy I think that's happening at the coast. There's such a shift with people taking care of each other and being focused on local service and local community. I thought, I want to start a brand that identifies with that and aligns with that. And so that's why I started Ocean Blue Real Estate.
I love it. I
love
the logo. I think it's perfect for you. You know, I think, you know, and I have to say, you know, I've been doing it for 5 years, a realtor, and man, you're one of my favorite people I've met in the business.
Nice. Thank you.
And God, you've helped me so much. You know, you've given me all these opportunities, hosting open houses, you know, for your listings and just like advice. You know, I've called you for advice on stuff, and I just want to thank you for just being one of the coolest people in real estate as far as I'm concerned. You've always been super cool and helpful and like kind of like a role model, you know. I mean, it's like you've been doing it longer than me, but I look up to the more successful realtors, and some of them offer advice and are kind of helping, and some aren't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's, I guess, with anything, right? Someone will hold all their knowledge close to their vest.
But... Right, but you've never been like that to me, and I think that shows the kind of person you are. And you know, I mean, I do this podcast because I want to highlight people and things that people are doing on the coast and kind of shed light on that. And I don't care that like you're a realtor and you're promoting your business and all that stuff. Like, I don't care about that. Yeah. Like, there's enough business for everyone to go around.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I think we're all like a family, really, even though we're in different brokerages and stuff. But I aspire to be on your level.
You're very generous
as far as real estate and life, man. And this house is beautiful. I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
And I respect it a lot. How did you get, like, how did they approach you? Did Jeannie just call you, or you already knew her? Like, how did you get involved in the Coast Pride?
Yeah, I didn't know her at all. And then Chris and I, in February, the same month we closed escrow on this house, we're on the cover of the Half Moon Bay magazine.
Oh yeah, you were famous that month. That was awesome.
So yeah, that was an interesting journey, to go into New Leaf and not even be able to look over and not see yourself while you're standing in line. So how that even came about is, you know, since we've lived here, they've always, in the Half Moon Bay Review magazine, which, you know, I publicize in a lot, and I think they do a fantastic job, but they always have done an article on, for Valentine's Day, couples at the coast.
Right.
And I remember reading it and being super happy for those couples and thinking, God, there's not enough diversity in the couples that they're recognizing. There just wasn't. We're Mexican community. I don't remember seeing any couples of color, regardless of what that means to you. There certainly weren't any gay couples. So for 2 years in a row, I think I wrote to Clay, the publisher, and I'm like, listen, great job on the article, ... However, and I'm like, listen, I don't need you to pick me, but I need you to look a little wider in your scope here. Like, this is a really diverse community. Pick some people of color. Pick a gay couple. I don't know, figure it out.
Yeah.
So I think I got an email back the first year thanking me for it. The second year I wrote the letter, he acknowledged that, gosh, they had kind of done it again. And then the third year they called and said, all right, like, you asked for it. We've picked you guys as one of the couples to be
You're like, me?
in the magazine. I know, I was like, oh, good Lord, right. So we were happy to do that, and it was fun, and the pictures were fun and all that kind of stuff. What we didn't know is that we were going on the cover until it came out.
Okay.
I was at the office, and I saw it, and I thought, oh, my God. There's no hiding this.
It was a great picture, though.
It was a fun picture.
Yeah.
There was no hiding it, right? So then in your mind, and I remember somebody at work saying, are you worried about being on the cover? And I thought, wow, that didn't even enter my brain.
You mean like actually like worried, like
because now you're out
target on you or something, like, or
well, you don't know, right? Like it's in every little market and store, everywhere. And I was in some environments where I were maybe not really super open. It didn't feel like a super open environment. I'd look over and see a stack of magazines, and it's my face, and I was like, wow, like every person who comes in here, there it is, right there. So there was no hiding it from a personal perspective or a business perspective, right? Like that was me.
Right.
That's me. And on the last page is my ad. So if you're looking at all, you're putting the two together.
If you would have known you were going to be on the cover, would you have, you would have still done it.
In a minute.
Yeah.
Because, I go back to that word witness on my arm, right? Like, how could I say no to that and then be part of a group called Coast Pride and trying to say it's right here, but it wasn't right in my own life. Right. So, but that's the phone call. That's Jeannie saw that and she's like, oh. Because she told me she didn't know any gay men couples at the Coast. Like, wow, that's amazing. Because that's all we knew.
Yeah.
Right? I have lots of gay friends here at the Coast, and most of them are men. So she had this whole community that were mostly women. So she called me, and she's like, listen, this is out of the blue. I know that, but will you meet for coffee, and can we just talk for a minute? It's like, sure, of course. And so we finally kind of brought those factions, those groups together, which hadn't really even happened at the Coast before.
That's interesting. Like, they both exist, but there's nothing really bringing people together.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Which I thought was fascinating as well. So now that's kind of happening through Coast Pride because all the supporters and advocates and couples and singles, whatever that might be, are kind of coming out of the woodwork to help support this organization regardless of kind of where you came from. So
are you guys surprised with the amount of people kind of coming out of the woodworks, or did you suspect?
I am surprised.
Yeah.
Not only... listen, I don't care or ask if somebody's sexuality is. It doesn't make any difference to me. But the number of people that have come forward, and especially parents with kids, because I think they recognize the need as well, which I think is phenomenal. So to have kind of that big wave of initial support, I think is going to help bolster the funds that we need to raise and the approval that we need from school districts to be part of the gay straight alliances and the money that we're going to need from the county and all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
It's going to help to support all of that because all of those are small, super important pieces of this being successful.
For sure. For sure.
So I'm pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. Versus why isn't anybody showing up or why isn't anyone liking the page or why isn't anyone donating, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's the worst feeling. I've been there where I start stuff and it's like, okay, nobody cares. Cool. All right, next.
Right.
This is definitely not going to be one of those things.
Yeah, I don't think so. And, again, I keep going back to Jeannie, but there's just such a huge groundswell of effort and people that are committed to it that I just don't know anyone is going to let it falter.
Are you guys going to do some shirts with the Coast Pride logo? Because it's really good.
I think it is too. And I have to thank Kelly up at Graphic Works because they designed that and they did that as a donation to us as well.
Oh, nice.
But I love it too. I think it's super cool. Really cool. So, our goal is to do, shirts, bumper stickers. But, that costs money too, right? Just to kind of lay that out, whether we give them away or sell them. But it's certainly on the radar of things to get accomplished.
It's good fundraising. That's what we did. Project New Groove. Shirts and hoodies and stuff like that, raise funds with that.
Yeah.
Give them something tangible.
Yeah. Well, and your shirts, the one you brought me today.
Yeah.
Highway 1.
Love, yeah.
Amazing.
I'm not a nonprofit, though.
That's all right.
I'm like calling people. I call my buddy Matt who works for the city. I'm like, can I set up a table at the Summer's End Festival? I want to sell shirts.
Yeah.
He's like, are you a nonprofit? I said, no. He's like, no.
You can't do it.
Damn. It's all funny? Good, though, yeah.
That's so funny.
But so you have a big fundraiser coming up June 28th.
We do at Sacrilege. I believe it's from 6 to 8. I should again check my notes. Yes, Sacrilege 28 in the evening. How about that?
Sacrilege is a cool place.
It's a really cool place, and they've been extremely generous with giving us that space that night. So we'll have some food. There'll be a bar. Again, the proceeds from the drinks will go towards Coast Pride, and we'll have a silent auction. And if you want to represent Highway 1 Love, I'm happy to put you on the silent auction. You can give us something, and we'll at least kind of give your company some exposure as well, but we'll help raise some funds. So maybe think of a little gift package. We'll put it on there.
Highway 1 Love is all love.
So,
nice. I think it goes hand in hand.
Yeah. We'll put you on that list. There's a lot of great organizations. So we have a private surf session with Tommy Tsunami.
Oh, Tommy Tsunami, nice.
Yeah. We've got Half Moon Bay Golf Links, round of golf for 4. You're sitting in our Airbnb up here in El Granada called Stairway to Heaven. There's a 2-night stay here with a $100 gift certificate to Sam's.
Wow.
There's wine packages, there's jewelry packages, there's whiskey tasting packages. There's lots and lots of stuff going on. So we'll include Highway 1 Love.
Awesome.
And that as well.
It, man.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So people, if they want more info on this organization, what's the website?
It's coastpride.org.
.org.
So you can go there. There's lots of tabs on there to click on, but there's a way to support the programs, and then we talk about what those drop-in programs look like and where they'll be. We talk about all of our events that have happened in the past and everything that's coming up, so there's Sacrilege information on there. And then if people want to kind of understand the press and the events that we have and the board that's kind of put it together and what we're trying to accomplish, it's all right there on the website.
Cool. And Facebook, all that too.
Facebook
like
group.
The Facebook page.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Like the Coast Pride Facebook page. We have an Instagram page. Thankfully, there's people in our lives that know how to create those things and connect them all together. But yeah, you can follow all the events on Instagram, Facebook, or right on the website. And on the website as well, under the Contact Us, there's a new place to sign up for the newsletter. So if you want to be kept up to date, you can sign up for the newsletter as well.
Nice. So what would you, I think it's been great so far. I think we got the info out there on Coast Pride. Really
Good.
My goal with this was to spread the word, just play a part in spreading the word. I don't have millions of people listening to this, but anything I can do would be awesome. I'm just trying to help, man.
Thank you.
I'm just trying to help. But I think it's going to be successful. Anything I can do to help, I'd love to be involved. I like the page, and whatever I can do, let me know. Consider me on the team.
An advocate.
Yes, I'm an advocate.
Thank you.
Sure.
Well, just getting the word out to people like this is hugely helpful, because maybe someone has heard about us and was anxious about reaching out. And if somebody wants to do that kind of in a more casual way, on the website is both my email and Jeannie's email.
Okay.
So they can even click right there and just write us both a personal note if they don't feel like they want to do something bigger and bold, like a page or show up at an event.
Yeah, you're kind of exposing yourself.
Of course.
Once you like the page or something.
You bet. So if somebody wants some of that information, and if they can sign up for the newsletter if they feel comfortable with that going right to their email. But if they need kind of an offline dialogue, they can contact either Jeannie or I right on the website. But just getting the word out so people are aware of it and know when to show up and know that those resources are coming is a huge help.
Yeah, if anybody's listening, whether you're a parent or a kid, and you are on the fence about coming out, or you're feeling kind of like you don't have support, or you're scared, we feel you. Just know that that's why Coast Pride is here. It's for people to feel like they have a loving environment, some support system to help you through that. And, reach out to David. David is a good guy. He's a nice man. And Jeannie too. But if I'll reach out to David, I'd send him a text or an email. He's a good guy, and you are loved, and it's only going to get better for everybody. It's damn near 2020. We may have former years of Trump. Not sure. But you know what? All that's really doing is, I feel like, it's mobilizing the opposition.
Well, here we are.
Yeah, it's making people unite and kind of smacking us out of our sleep a little bit.
Comfort zone.
Yeah, so I think that's the good side of what's coming out of that whole deal, which I'm not political, but y'all know where I stand. But yeah, thank you so much, man. Is there anything else you want to kind of add to this?
I think just to your point that if somebody does feel like they need a safe space and don't have one, or a safe person to talk to, or a resource, that for sure getting a hold of Jeannie or I is absolutely a great first step, and we'll make sure that those resources are aligned with them. Yeah, and if there's anybody young, I'd love to see a high school kid that's very just outspoken, down to represent, step up, and really, because we need somebody. I don't know if you guys have anybody really young, really with you guys on the board or whatever. But if you can get a high school kid that's down, that would be huge. So it's really good timing of your question, because at our next board meeting, which is in July, we are bringing on 2 high school students as the youth advocacy voice on our board to make sure we're not missing anything. That's awesome. So that's starting next month. Nice. Right on. Well, man, thanks so much. You're welcome. It was awesome. I really appreciate you, man. I respect what you're doing. And I could do a whole episode just on you. I just want to hear your life story. But maybe we'll do it again, man. Nice. Right on. Well, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. And again, people can go to coastpride.org for more information. Right on. David Oliphant. That was Coast Talk. We'll see you next time. See you guys.